Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Vague Ramblings, and I'm doing a very special sort of 2016, not a year in review, but kind of a look back on some of my favorite things over the year. And I'm going to divide these up into several videos, so it's not just one like super long video. And I'm going to kind of try and make sure that each one is sort of focused on something kind of specific. So for the first one, I actually thought it'd be kind of cool to go over some of the events in this past year, some of the film events and some of the people that I've met, because I think that's part of what I'll remember, I'll take away from this year. Because it actually has, the more I went back and looked over stuff, I was like, geez, a lot of really amazing things have happened this year. So I'm going to actually do these in order, and some of these I haven't talked about yet, so it's going to be actually kind of cool. So to start off, back in April, I went to a special screening of The Last Dragon, which if you've never seen The Last Dragon, I highly recommend it. It is so much fun. I don't even know how to describe it. It's over the top, hilarious, and it's like super campy, but it's like intentionally campy. So it's just a lot of fun to watch. And what was cool is that the star of the film, Timac, was there in person. And I got to meet him and kind of thing. And, Last Dragon is one of those films I sort of, grew up on. I saw as a kid and sort of grown up on it, grown up with it over the years. And actually got to see it at a midnight show like 5-6 years ago or something. So it was cool to actually see it again. This was at the Music Box. It was 35 millimeter print, which was also very cool. And just a really fun night. Got to hang out with friends Sandy and Bobby and stuff as well. So really a fun night. And in June, I got to meet Master Al Tracy. I study Kenpo. And Kenpo was interesting because it was basically something, if you go back far enough, there's a long history, but specifically sort of in the short term, what I would call sort of American Kenpo was sort of started by Ed Parker, and he had a lot of proteges. But when he died, because it was kind of sudden, he didn't specifically say, it's like, okay, so you take the teachings and then you kind of go off on your own. So there was a little bit of a splintering by some of the different proteges. I'm not kind of one of those who just like, well, this, it should be, this is wrong, this is right kind of thing. It's like, it all stems from the same source. So even though there'll be differences in different versions of it, by and large, it is the same thing. I study under the Al Tracy system, which again is based from the Ed Parker system. And I got to meet Master Tracy back in June, which was really special for me. Having studied this for now several years, it was really an honor to get to meet him and hear him talk and everything. It was kind of cool because we had a moment where I talked to him one-on-one, and we started, and I was there and I was taking a lot of pictures, kind of because I knew it would be a special event kind of thing. And he sort of asked me about my camera and everything, and he loves photography. So we started talking about photography for like 10 minutes and everything, which was really actually kind of special because you realize, there are certain creative things that when two creative people, no matter what other thing they're there for, two creative people will always kind of like, there's always that sort of mutual kind of thing that sort of pulls you together. So I thought that was actually kind of special. And that's something that I'll definitely remember for the rest of my life. So in August, I went to Flashback Weekend, and I did do a video on Flashback, which I will link below. But I do just kind of want to just sort of emphasize how special Flashback is, because I've been going to Flashback now for 10 years or something now, right? 10 years. I think 2006 was the first show I went to. It's always a special event because I get to hang out with friends and I get to meet all these great people. I had a blast at this year's Flashback Weekend, and it's just something I know I'll remember because it was, as they all are, they're really, really important to me. I get to add one more year to my Flashback Weekend experience. So the next two things are actually music related, or film music related, I guess I should say. In October, I went to, the Music Box had a special showing of The Beyond, Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. And it was a special presentation because Fabio Frizzi, who did the music to a lot of Lucio Fulci's films, was there, and he was performing the score to The Beyond live. So they had They managed to get a version, which I believe they got from Grindhouse Releasing. They managed to get a version of the film that had, you know, all the dialogue and sound effects and everything, but it had the music removed. So you watch the film with dialogue and sound effects, and he's doing the music live as it's happening. And it is amazing. You know, I've got to see something like that before when I got to see Goblin do the score to Suspiria live. So it's that kind of thing. But this was just really it was just a fantastic evening. Because The Beyond is, you know, I mean, I love The Beyond so much. And I mean, just see it in the theater alone is one thing. But I've always loved the music to The Beyond. So it was a really special thing. And getting to meet him was incredible because I love, you know, he also did the music, again, to other Fulci films, obviously, and Zombie being one of them. And it was really cool because even afterwards, as they were finished, you know, they were able to play a couple just excerpts from other things before they called it a night. And so it was neat because I got to hear pieces from other films, and obviously they ended with Zombie, which, you know, I was over the moon excited for that one. And obviously the other musical thing that happened this year was I got to see John Carpenter perform live, which obviously I did do another video on, and I will link that before. And if you want to see me gush for like 10 minutes, definitely go watch that video, because that was definitely like a massive highlight for me. I mean, that's something where it's like, I know for a fact I'll always remember that night. Because John Carpenter's music, I listen to John Carpenter's music all the time, literally all the time. So to not only get to meet him, but to see him and hear him, you know, perform it live, all of his music live was just, you know, it was just, I can't even describe it. Again, if you want to see me gush, go watch that video kind of thing. But that's definitely sort of like a huge highlight for me for the year. So in October, I went to 2 different film events. I went to the Music Box of Horrors and the Massacre. And each one is a 24-hour film event where they start films on noon Saturday and they go until noon Sunday, straight through. The way my schedule worked out this year, unfortunately, I was able to go to Music Box of Horrors and stay for the whole thing. I was only able to go to the Massacre for the first half, but at least I did get to meet everyone that was there and get to see friends that I hadn't seen in a while and everything. What was cool was that, so at the Music Box of Horrors, I got to see a lot of films, which was really special because I got to see them in like 35mm and everything. And they had some guests there, and it was kind of cool. They had Jim Moreau, who did, he's really known in the film industry because he's like a Steadicam operator and like a camera operator. He's done he's worked on some like massive, huge, big budget Hollywood films, but he was a filmmaker when he started off. Still a filmmaker, but I mean, he actually became known to people like me originally because he made the film Street Trash, which was cool because they had a 35mm print of Street Trash. So I can now say I've seen Street Trash in the theater, and he was there and I got to meet him, which was really special. And Gary Sherman was there because they had a special screening of Deathline, which was his, I believe it was his first film, if I'm not mistaken. And it was cool because it was actually the original longer cut, which I believe is being restored and going to be on video and everything. But if I remember correctly, I think that longer cut has not been seen for like years. You know, the fact that they actually found a print of it is really kind of something special. So it was a really special treat. And what was even cooler was the fact that for the Q&A, Gary Sherman was interviewed by John McNaughton, the director of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer and Mad Dog and Glory and Wild Things and like all these other films, but it was the kind of thing where like I was like, holy crap, that's John McNaughton, who I got to meet 2 years prior there, which was kind of special. But it's kind of thing where I got to meet him again, and it was just kind of funny because he has this reputation of being someone who's kind of very sort of strict and and every time I've met him, he literally could not have been nicer. And again, he wasn't even a guest at Music Box Force. He was just there to just do the Q&A and just kind of hang out for a bit and stuff. And I ran into the lobby, and I knew ahead of time he was going to be there, so I brought my Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer French poster, and I was like, would you mind signing this for me? He was like, absolutely. And he signed it and took pictures and stuff. I mean, he could not have been nicer. So I don't know how he got this reputation, but I can tell you my experience, super nice guy. And at the massacre, which unfortunately I was not able to stay for the whole thing, but at least I was able to be there for half of it and meet some of the guests there. And finally I got to meet Lynn Laurie, who is such a sweet person, and she has been in so many movies. She was in David Cronenberg's Shivers, one of his earlier films, and she was in The Crazies, George Romero film, which is what I originally kind of knew her from. But she's also in I Drink Your Blood and so many other films. And she was so sweet. I haven't had a chance to meet her yet until now. So that was really special. And they had Giovanni Frezza, I believe I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, who was in a lot of Lucio Fulci films when he was a kid. And he was in House by the Cemetery, which I think is mainly what he's known from. But he was in Manhattan Baby and a ton of other films when he was a kid, because they had very, very bright, bleach blonde, hair and very stark blue eyes and everything. And I kind of think it was very cool to meet him, obviously being a big Fulci fan as I am. And I got to meet Tom McLaughlin, who directed a ton of things, but obviously he's probably most known for directing Friday the 13th Part 6, which was really cool because I had my Friday the 13th Part 6 poster, and I've been wanting to meet him for a long time and dying to obviously get him on that and everything. And he's kind of one of those guys too. He's really, really nice, and I think he's always sort of amazed that anyone even wants to meet him, kind of thing. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean, he's just like, I can't believe everybody even wants to talk to me. It's just kind of thing. It's like, dude, you made Jason Lives, for Christ's sake. Which leads me into the kind of final event of 2016, which was Days of the Dead. Again, much like Flashback, I go to all of the Chicago shows to Days of the Dead. And again, it's always a fun time. I get to hang out with friends all weekend, and I always get to meet really great people. And this year was no exception. Speaking of Friday the 13th Part 6, I got to meet C.J. Graham, who played Jason in Part 6. So I got to add him to my Friday the 13th Part 6 poster. I got to meet Shannon Elizabeth, who still looks phenomenal. And I got to get her on my Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back poster, which is good because I have a couple signatures on it, but it was really cool to actually get her on it. I got to meet John Heder, who I was very excited to meet because I love Napoleon Dynamite. Which is kind of funny because it's one of those films, I remember when it came out, I was originally like, I don't know, it just didn't click with me. But then when it came out on video, I rented it, and I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And then when it went on cable, it was like one of those movies where every time it was on, I would stop on it and I'd watch it and stuff. And I just completely fell in love with the movie. So it was so great to meet him. He was hilarious, kind of thing, and very, very nice too. I know he does a lot of conventions, so if you ever get a chance to meet him, I highly recommend it. Judge Reinhold was there, the great Judge Reinhold from, Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Beverly Hills Cop and a million other films. He was in Seinfeld, he was the clothes talker kind of thing. And he was great. It was kind of one of those where it's just for a horror convention, it was kind of an interesting choice because I don't think he's actually ever done a horror film, but that's also what kind of made it special because it was I don't know when I'd actually get a chance to meet him. And obviously, as I've said in other videos, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm also a huge fan of the prequels, which tends to be a controversial thing to say for some reason. I don't know why. I love the prequels, and they had Ray Park there who played Darth Maul. So I was very excited to meet him because, you know, again, huge fan, obviously, of Darth Maul. I mean, it's like even the people who don't like Phantom Menace all love Darth Maul. So it was really cool to meet him. So for me as a Star Wars fan, that was really special. I'm not into wrestling like I used to be, you know, years and years ago, but, you know, it's like I grew up on it. And I got to meet Ric Flair, which was really cool because it's like, again, you know, if you grew up with wrestling, especially in like the 80s and 90s, and like you knew who Ric Flair was. So that was really kind of a really cool thing for me because even though I don't really watch it anymore, I still have a lot of fondness for all of the years that I grew up with it. Like, you know, I still love kind of going back and watching those like, you know, it's like recap things from those time periods and everything. So, and again, whenever I get to meet one of the wrestlers from back then, like it's a treat, you know, it's something really special. They had a Tony Todd photo op of him as Candyman, so I had to get that because, you know, it's just like, because Tony Todd, like, he does a lot of conventions kind of thing. Very sweet guy if you get to meet him. And obviously, I mean, he's known for a lot of things, obviously Candyman being one of the big things. So it was really cool to actually get, you know, a Candyman photo op with Tony Todd. I thought that was actually really sweet. So definitely something I will hang happily on the wall. And another person I met at Days of the Dead, which was a big deal to me, was Christy Swanson. I have been not just a fan of hers, but I've had the biggest crush on her since I was a very young kid when I saw Deadly Friend, which is kind of funny because the movie Deadly Friend, which is a Wes Craven film, you know, she plays I'm not giving anything away. This happens pretty early on, but, you know, she moves in next to this kid, and she has kind of this abusive father. He accidentally kills her, so the neighbor kid manages to insert like a chip into her, which kind of brings her back to life, sort of. She's obviously not right, you know, and so, which is kind of funny, but for whatever reason, that movie, like, I just fell in love with her. And then just followed her throughout her career as the years kind of went by. She did, you know, like Flowers in the Attic, and the movie version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and so on and so forth. And so it was so nice to meet her. She literally is probably one of the sweetest persons I could have met. I probably ever met, actually, at any convention. It just looks stunning to this day. I have to tell you, you know, it's kind of one of those where even all these years later, it's just like, you know, it kind of felt like that little kid again. So yeah, so that was definitely special for a lot of ways because it's like, you know, again, a fan, like a childhood crush kind of thing, but also the fact that she was so nice on top of that, which is kind of what you hope. You know, you hope people are nice and sweet and how you hope you want them to be, and she definitely was. And last but definitely not least, I got to meet the man, the legend, Alice Cooper, who is exactly how you would want him to be. He's so nice and laid back and very sort of appreciative of the fans and stuff. And I was kind of one of those where I was almost actually shocked that they got him. And his line, needless to say, was long, all weekend long. You know, luckily, the friends I was there with, you know, we decided, like, let's get our stuff signed on Friday. Let's just get in line. And, you know, and it took a while, but luckily, the line on Friday, as long as it was at least not, it wasn't as long as it was, obviously, Saturday and Sunday. So, I mean, it was just kind of thing where it's just like, that's Alice Cooper. Like, holy crap. You know, I got to meet Alice Cooper. Again, I got him to sign, I mean, obviously I got a couple things from him, but I got him to sign my Friday the 13th Part 6 poster. Because one of the things that, you know, as a kid, like, I kind of knew who Alice Cooper was from a couple different things, but I actually kind of really got to know him quite a bit because he did the song and music video for Friday the 13th Part 6. You know, the song He's Back, the man behind the mask. I was just like, I hope he'll be okay if I haven't signed the poster. Obviously he was, you know. That was really, really amazing to meet him. Like, what a way to kind of end the year, you know. It's just like, I got to meet Alice Cooper, like, holy crap. You know, talk about just chalking one off the the bucket list. I mean, within a year, I got to meet, obviously, so many people, as I mentioned, but I mean, specifically when you have John Carpenter and Alice Cooper within the span, I got to meet them in the span of, 6 months of each other, Anyway, so as far as like events and people I've met, that was pretty much it for 2016. But like I said, holy crap, was that something special. Just an amazing year as far as events go. And I'm really looking forward to some of the ones that I'll be going to next year. Probably not as many, but still, they're always fun to go, and I always try and go to as many as I can. More videos coming as I wrap up 2016. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for more of my vague ramblings. See, there's Pinky and there's the brain. So, I don't know what they're planning to do. Something, I assume they're going to try and take over the world.